If you get anxious public speaking, then today's video is something you definitely want to pay attention to. Success in a variety of different areas of your life depends on your ability to comfortably, passionately, and confidently express your ideas, your thoughts, and your opinions. Having the ability to speak confidently in public can change everything for your business, your professional life, and even your personal life. Whether you're spreading ideas or inspiring others or communicating a new project or idea, public speaking is something that is a skill that is absolutely essential. Whether you're talking to a big audience or a small audience, being able to confidently share that message can be stopped entirely in its tracks by a fear of public speaking. Hey, I'm Molle from Visibility Hacking Studios, and I work with people who start out being incredibly fearful of sharing their ideas and their message with their audiences. And we find that there are so many different reasons that people have this fear. What's even more interesting, in my opinion, is all of the ideas that run through people's heads about what could possibly happen when they get up and they start sharing their message with the world. And so in today's video, we're going to talk first about why people are afraid of public speaking in the first place. And we'll talk about how not to be nervous public speaking. I'll give you 5 tactics that you can start using today. And we'll talk about how to get over the anxiety of public speaking so that you can more confidently share your thoughts, your opinions, your ideas, and your vision for the future with your audience. So if you want to feel more confident, whether speaking in front of the camera or speaking in front of a group of people, then you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for today's video. Glossophobia is the fear of public speaking, and it can arise for a variety of different reasons, including our past experiences. Maybe you got on stage when you were a little kid and someone made fun of you. That memory has been ingrained in you, and that's the obstacle that's stopping you from getting up and sharing your messages now, maybe 30 years later. What's literally happening in our bodies and in our brains when we experience that fear is that our autonomic nervous system is highly aroused. Let's go to a basic level. If we were animals, what's happening in our body is we are experiencing what it feels like to be chased, to be in danger, to be worried about what's happening around us. And because of that, our brains are working at trying to protect us rather than being confident in sharing your message. On the other hand, we may feel what's known as situational anxiety that come from very specific reasons. Maybe you're sharing a message in front of a new audience, or you're worried about the status difference between you and the people in your audience. Like you're sharing a new invention and you're trying to pitch it to a bunch of investors, for example. That difference in status, or that perceived difference in status, can really get our nervous system worked up. We may be worried that we don't have the same amount of experience as the people who we're in the same room with. Maybe we feel like we don't know what we're talking about. Even though you clearly know what you're talking about, it's just your brain playing tricks on you. Sometimes we get nervous and anxious about sharing new ideas or sharing ideas in new situations. For a lot of the clients I've worked with who are fearful of public speaking, once they understood that this was a natural reaction, it wasn't that they were bad at speaking, it's that their brain and their body were in a different state of mind. And better yet, when they realized there was things that they could actually do about that so that they could overcome that fear and they could work their way through it so they could become confident communicators, well, then everything changed. So before we go forward with any of these ways to overcome our fears, I want to know from you our question of the day. I'm curious. Do you get nervous? Do you get fearful? Do you get anxious sharing your ideas in front of a crowd? And now let's get a little bit more specific with this. Do you get anxious in a small crowd versus a big crowd? Where is that anxiety in terms of speaking on camera versus speaking to a group of people in front of you? What about if you're more familiar with those people or it's a brand new audience? I want to know how your level of comfort changes based on a bunch of different scenarios. So let me know down in the comments, because I want to help you overcome those fears, move through that obstacle, because your message truly does matter. and let's try and get that message out to your people. Nerves are a reality. It happens to all of us. It happens to the best of us. But what we do once we recognize that we have those nerves is going to change the game. Whether we recognize them and let them overcome us, or we recognize them and do something to mitigate those, that's going to be the difference between being incredibly anxious and fearful when you're on stage, or even curling up in a ball and not going out on stage and not sharing your message, and becoming that confident communicator. The difference is in what we do with those nerves. So here are 5 different techniques that you can use today to start recognizing and overcoming those fears. First is to organize your thoughts. Really think through what you're about to talk about. Only the best, most confident communicators are able to riff and just talk off the top of their heads. The best communicators, in my opinion, are those who work from some sort of structure, some sort of organization. They have an idea of what points they want to discuss and in what order. How much you flesh those out is up to you. But having that plan, having that outline is going to help you overcome a lot of those fears because you know what you're going to talk about and what you're going to talk about next. Second thing I want you to do feels really woo-woo, but I want you to visualize the process. Visualization works really, really powerfully, and it seems really hokey, but it actually does work. Seriously, I worked with this really young group of basketball players. They were a recreational group. They weren't aspiring to be NBA players or WNBA players or gold medalists or anything like that. They just wanted to learn and have fun. And we're talking like 6 to 10-year-olds here. And what I did was I worked with them individually. I gave them each their own space to focus, their own nets to shoot into. And I got them to just start practicing shooting. In the end, that didn't work very well, just giving them space to practice, because they kept coming up with the same excuses, in my opinion. Everyone said things like, I'm too short, I'm not strong enough, I'm a girl, so I'm not good at basketball. My brother says I'm not good, so I know I'm not good. And all of these different excuses kept coming up. So I had to change my tactics. And what I got everyone to do was to close their eyes, and I wanted them, without holding onto an actual ball, just holding onto an energy ball, I wanted them to close their eyes and visualize the process of making that basket. What does it look like to get into position? What does it look like to throw and release? What does it look like when that ball leaves our hand and makes its way into the net? And I got them to visualize that and work through that at least 10 times in a row before they were ever allowed to touch the ball again. Then we went to a next step where they had the ball in their hand, they still had their eyes closed, and they were practicing through, visualizing that process again. Yeah, okay, there was a couple kids who made the basket with their eyes closed, but that's not the point of this story. The point of the story is that once everyone opened their eyes again and they went back to shooting like normal, man, the amount of confidence they had, the visualization allowed them to see themselves in that successful state, instead of their thoughts being dominated by what their brother said about them because he's anxious about his own abilities in basketball. Same thing applies when you're going up and you're standing on stage. What I want you to do is visualize what success looks like. Visualize the audience standing up at the end and giving you that round of applause. Visualize getting pat on the back from people who you look up to. Visualize that one person who really needed to hear that message coming up to you at the end and giving you a high five and saying, thank you for sharing that message. I needed to hear it. Those moments of success, I want you to ingrain them into you. Because even if you're not experiencing them firsthand to start out with, when your brain is primed with the ability that you are a success, then those become reality. I told you it sounds a little bit woo-woo, but it actually works. Try it. Third tip for you guys is to focus on your material and not your audience. We talk about creating the right message for the right audience, and that's not what we need to focus on here. What I want you to do is spend your energy getting to know the materials you're sharing with your audience. Make sure that you're familiar with them, because again, it's going to sit in a different part of our brain. You're going to be able to recall the things that you've been focusing on. When people ask you a question, you want to have the information that you're trying to share with them at top of mind, rather than thoughts of everyone in their underwear. That's not what I want you to focus on. Focus on the material you want to share with your people. Fourth step, I do this every time before I start recording, before I jump in front of an audience, and that is to take some deep breaths. Do what I like to call box breathing, or what is commonly known as box breathing, where you inhale for a count of 4, you hold it for a count of 4, you release your breath for a count of 4, and then you hold for another count of 4. And this way you're visualizing this box. Having that really does calm down your nervous system. It allows you to be in the moment, to be centered. It opens up your brain to think about those things that you've been focusing on, like the materials that you're sharing with your audience, and it allows you to get into a state of mind that is much more comfortable. And 5, I want you to recognize your success. Even if those successes are tiny baby steps, I want you to look for that silver lining. I want you to look for the successes. Even if the success is, I got in front of people and didn't pee my pants. Recognizing those little successes becomes a habit and actually changes our brain chemistry. It helps us become more confident and more comfortable the next time we get on stage, because we know we didn't get eaten by a lion last time we were on stage, so we don't need to prepare our brains and our bodies to run like we would be being chased. I guess tactic number 6 is to hit the subscribe button and join us here on the channel so that you can enjoy all of the great content that we put out there for you, whether it's our recorded videos Monday to Friday or our live shows as well. I know you'll get a hit out of them, and I know you'll enjoy them. So join us here on the channel. We got to talk about how do you actually get over that anxiety of public speaking. Well, I gave you a bunch of tactics that I want you to start using, but I need you to recognize the reality. And that is the obstacle, that anxiety is going to be with you for a little bit. So I want you to think, instead of, how do I get away from this anxiety? How do I push that away? I want you to think, how do I work through it? See, if we think about how do we avoid the thing that makes us uncomfortable, well, that's an easy, slippery slope to, I never have to present in front of people again because that makes me anxious. Instead, when we work through the obstacle, we recognize we're going to feel uncomfortable. We recognize it might not be the most fun and exciting thing to do, but we know that every step we take is a step towards victory. Literally, think of it like climbing a mountain. Every step is taking you one step closer to reaching that peak of success. If we take that mountain idea, I want you to think about setting goals. What is the top of the mountain in your opinion? And that way you can actually measure how close you are getting to that goal, how you're moving and progressing towards achieving that goal. Start to become comfortable with the uncomfortable. Man, oh man, I learned that the hard way. Back in the day, I used to speak on stage at this local bar, do a lot of slam poetry, spoken word stuff. And one day, my friends who were part of this community invited me up on stage to be a backup singer for a song that they were performing. Yeah, I did spoken word, not singing. I don't sing. I don't have that ear. I don't have the ability to sing on pitch or anything like that. Not to mention, I had no idea of the song that they were talking about, so I didn't know what I was supposed to do. They threw a microphone in front of me, tap, 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 that was live, so I couldn't even hum my way to success. It made me so anxious in the moment. So rather than curling up in a ball and looking like a deer in headlights or stomping off the stage and hiding in the back room until everyone forgot that I had embarrassed myself, instead of doing any of that, I recognized that this was a really fun opportunity to try something new. To recognize that I felt uncomfortable, but to work through it. No, the moral of the story is not that I became a world-class backup singer. No, I've actually never sung again since that moment happened, but I realized that I had this wonderful experience to try confidence in a different way. It inspired me to do the thing that I want you to do next, which is to try an improv class. See, the thing about improv is you can't become a deer in headlights. You can't become frozen in the moment. You have to keep the scene moving. And when you learn improv techniques, you learn this whole new toolbox of skills that you can implement to help keep your conversations moving. Whether you're giving a presentation or you're just chatting with new people or you're pitching your business ideas, improv is one of the most incredible experiences I ever had when it came to building my own confidence. And of course, my final tip for you to help overcome that anxiety of public speaking is to be consistent. Recognize it's going to be uncomfortable, but get in the groove of taking action and moving forward. Even if you're just recording videos for yourself and watching them back, I want you to build a habit of being consistent, practicing your message, practicing all of these different techniques that you can do to get you into the right state of mind, because I want you to feel comfortable sharing your message. Once you feel comfortable at that base level, then we can talk about how do we become comfortable in different situations, whether it's on camera or it's on stage or whatnot. But I want you to first be comfortable just chatting to your people. So look into your camera lens, give it a little smile, and start sharing your message. Whether you're communicating for business or for personal reasons, communication is one of those essential skills to success, especially in a digital world. If you're looking to learn more about communication, you should definitely check out our Communication 101 series. We talk a whole bunch about different ways that you can communicate your messages with your audience in different situations. So check out that playlist. And if you enjoyed today's video, I bet you'll enjoy this video over here. I'll see you in our next one, my friends. Don't forget, I love you. Be excellent to each other and just go live. Your people are out there and they're waiting for you.